Welcome in everyone, I'm Slay. Today is really exciting because I'm taking part in 5 Builders 1 City, and it is my turn to work on the capital city. Next week we'll be working on our own little area, but today I get to add on to the build that everyone kind of contributes to. I received the save file from Overcharged Egg, who worked on the waterfront tram area. Additionally, you've had Zardus and Imperial Jedi who have already contributed to the city. So now it's my turn to add on and build something and continue what they've already started. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Be sure to like the video and leave a comment if you have any questions or if you have any thoughts about the build itself. We also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Slay3K, where we play some cities along with some other games. And if you want to go check out some of the builders that are contributing to the city, I'm going to link them down in the description below. All right, so at this point, you might be wondering what we're going to start on today. Zardus originally set this area up, and I was talking to him a little bit, and I decided that I would start to advance this area some. He brought up the idea of like a national mall here, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So I think a large part of what I'm going to do is be working on some sort of elaborate park in this specific area. I think it would be cool to do a couple things. I want to fill up the exterior area with some bigger buildings, maybe a couple of like tourist attraction style buildings, and then just sort of see what we get on the ends. Like I could see it being, you know, some modern pathing where it's a little bit geometric, but I could also see it being kind of laid out very organic instead. So we've got some playing around to do. There's obviously, you know, the roads and stuff like that are established. So I'm going to leave that as is, and I'm just really going to focus on how to fill this space up. I want this to be kind of like a center point. And what I think is going to happen is this is going to be sort of a competing, almost like downtown area to this. I like the idea of having sort of two parts of like two downtowns. You know, a lot of cities have like an uptown and a downtown or whatever. So I think we're going to kind of follow that path and just see what we get out of this in that regard. So first thing first, let's just lay out some paths and see what we're feeling. I'm going to keep it kind of simple and nice. I'm typically a fan of doing things very even, balanced and whatnot. I have a hard time breaking that habit. I'm sure some of you can relate, but I just want to get a few things down and we'll kind of see what we're working with. I want to keep it, I guess, sort of geometrically balanced, more so than making geometric shapes, at least to begin with. I did think it might be cool to have more of like an artsy area where some of the lines are, you know, creating triangles instead of squares. I mean, obviously that's a triangle, but multiple different angles at play, but I'm not sure how it's going to blend with the rest of what we have. Obviously we're in a very grid area, that's at least how it's sort of set up with some curves out here, but this format makes me want to do a very balanced and clean look. So I'm a little torn on how I want to piece this together. But that's part of, you know, experimenting in cities, right? We just try to figure out what we want to do. We go from there. So let's see what this kind of looks like if I do something, you know, a little bit shorter like that, and then have these paths crossing. Could look a little janky. I guess we'll see. The good news, that's a little off, isn't it? Oh, the node's in a different spot. I didn't realize that was. About to scoot over. Probably first thing first, I should get rid of all of these trees. Ooh, I just realized I need to make sure that we are not just losing daylight, because that would not be ideal for me. All right. Now back to cleaning this up. I mean, I don't know if I want to do that back to back necessarily. I think I can tweak where that kind of weird node is as well. There's a park that I used to visit. It was actually in an older city, and it was a really, really large park. And like at one end, they had a big fountain, and they had just like some very organic pathing around the fountain. And then towards the outside, they had, you know, very just like inline geometric. It was very balanced and even. But it was also like in a town that was like very grid heavy. So you had the fountain on one end, and then you went to a different part, and it just had these large like fields that you could go in and just sit out on. You know, you could go play soccer, football, whatever you wanted to. And then they had a portion of it that was dedicated to like a little bit more like organized, you know, if you had a group come in to play basketball or tennis and stuff like that. So that was like an option as well. So I'm tempted that, you know, to think maybe we need some of that somewhere attached to here, even if we built it off of this. But I think what would be cool is if this eventually fills up too with just stuff that kind of overlooks this. So it's just a nice area in general. And I think we should probably at some point maybe zone this for a park. All right. So what I want to do is I want to kind of draw in this stuff. But the park that I was referencing, it's really kind of cool because it's such a big part of the town. It's kind of surprising when you look back at it in this huge area in almost like the middle of a city is just dedicated to this just green space, and it's been there forever. Like, this is not a youthful young brand new project. It's been there for a hot minute, so it's kind of weird, or different rather. Not really weird, just something new. All right, so I'm keeping it very geometric and even. I'm probably using that word way too much, aren't I? I want to scoot this out a little bit more. I'm not too stressed about like perfect angles or perfect spacing of everything, because we'll just be here all day if I get too far into this. Something like that is nice though. I can tell I'm a little bit off. How far off am I? 9 and about 11. So I think what we can do is we can actually move, like scoot this over a bit, just shift it this way some. And I think we'll start closing in on what would be centered here, because I can almost see, I don't know if we have a statue in our, what we have to work with, but I can almost see like a little statue being in the middle there, or just kind of surround it with like, you know, like some flowers and make it just sort of a center point for this whole spot. And I think that's pretty close, right? It's not, maybe not quite perfect, but it'll do the trick. All right, so now we have this gap. I kind of like the widened pedestrian space here, so I might continue that as well. I think that makes things look really clean when you're able to do that. Obviously it kind of depends on the situation, right? But I do typically enjoy just adding around a park, adding a path to the exterior of like your green space. It's not some crazy idea, I don't think either, but it starts to make it seem like, okay, this is an area where we really value like pedestrians, right? Like this is, people are going to be walking here, so we widen the space to accommodate for capacity and stuff like that. So that's sort of my excuse if I need one. For those of you guys that don't know though, I typically build very American style cities. You know, I often say they're very Midwestern. I don't know where I get that from. I'm not from the Midwest, but that tends to be what I feel like my cities at least feel or look like. It's kind of weird. I don't know why. All right, now that we got this area set up with the extra pathing along the road, I need to fill in here. This is actually a bike path and pedestrian path that was here. I'm gonna just tweak this a little bit just to make it blend in with what I'm setting up. And I'm realizing one thing is that I put these light posts on the wrong side, so I'm going to fix that so that they're towards the other side here. I think I need to go this way. Yeah, there we go. And let me tweak the positioning of that just to make it look a little bit better and a little bit cleaner. All right, there's that. So I think what we'll do is we'll make this kind of just an open area, maybe just some grass in the middle, but, you know, do some work on the edges and the corners. Here, I want to do more flowers or something like that in this space, and then potentially have it open up again back this way. Now, we have this spot with the bike path, which is actually a cool idea so that you can kind of continue on to this area with the canal. So I think that's going to work out nicely. I just want to tweak the separation here just to make it blend in with what I'm setting up. I'm almost tempted to also leave this area kind of open, but I don't know. Let's just see where this takes us. I'm going to go ahead and combine these paths together so this looks more, you know, planned out and intentional, especially with what I'm trying to create. Maybe I don't really need to. I kind of want to just take this a little bit and just do a separation here. Just have it fully separated, but I don't know if it's going to cooperate, and I'm not grabbing the right node. Oh, they're stacked. Okay. Let's pull these a little bit further apart. This is obviously one of those bummers you get sometimes when you're messing around with pathing in cities. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to align these with the crosswalks, basically. Yeah, something like that, at least for now. And I'm going to take, let me see if I can find it. Wrong one. That was bound to happen. I'm going to take this all the way across just to smooth that out. What I found is just with like these paths that we use in cities, like the base game pathing, sometimes you just have to like mess with it until you get it. You know what I mean? Like it's all experimental until you figure it out. I'm going to see, can I flip that? I can't. I should have. I did it again. I set this up incorrectly. I needed to go this way. You guys are supposed to tell me, but you can't. So it makes it difficult. I'm so used to being on stream playing cities. Obviously I do my tutorials, but playing this like live, I'm just waiting for someone to be like, hey, shouldn't you move that? All right. So it looks like this node right here needs to like extend. Let me find it. This guy right here just needs to extend out a little bit more, or we just need to bring it in a hair just to kind of align it better so it doesn't look like it's too uneven. I don't want to make it look bad, but I do actually really like how this is turning out. I want to continue to mix up what we're doing with the designs. Obviously we have these two X's, and then we kind of go into the rectangles here and a bigger rectangle, but it's like opposing it, like it's not the same direction. So I think that's nice. And I want to do the same thing here that we did with this path and separate it a little bit. You guys have been telling us for the most part just to design whatever we want to, but I did find something in what Overcharged Egg posted with his poll is like, should he design a some form of office park? And I feel like to a degree we might actually accomplish that a little bit if we have time. So now we have a big square. I almost wonder if we should put a water feature or something like that in. I just don't know how it's going to react. I'm so accustomed to playing very heavily modded that I'm trying to be mindful that I don't have my normal like package of mods and things available. But I do like the cleanliness of this. It's very even and balanced. And yeah, I think it'll be nice to have some trees and flowers here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these trees just so I can kind of like clear the palette that we're gonna use and make it so that I don't have anything in the way, because I'm basically gonna have to redo a lot of the grass, flowers, and all that stuff according to how I lay out the space. I'm also going to hit pause real quick, and we're gonna remove this power line and maybe just kind of shift it away for right now. I'm gonna reconnect it just because I haven't really investigated what all it's connected to, and I don't want to. Ooh, I guess I can just pull off here actually. Let me see. I also need to figure out what our part of the map is going to look like when we venture that way. I haven't really decided on anything, so if you guys have suggestions, please leave it down in the comments of what you'd like to see. I think the one thing I thought of was potentially doing sort of like a beach town of sorts and keeping it a little bit rural and spaced out. I did like what Overcharged Egg created, so I'm tempted to kind of, I don't want to say that I would follow that route necessarily, but I'm thinking something almost like a little surfer-ish, you know? But I don't know. I don't even know what that would really look like necessarily. Just like a commercial pocket, some spread out housing, just nice little vibe spot that people can venture to. Maybe it's more of a vacation spot than it is anything else. Maybe that's the trick. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think down below. I would appreciate it. Ooh, okay, well, that's gonna be crazy. So okay, so there's the outline that I want. I also probably need to see about tweaking some of this. And yeah, guys, I'm trying to do the best I can at making all these lines meet up nicely. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes, you know, having imperfections is actually not a bad thing. Okay, now I have a thought. What if we take this area, since it's so large, and we make it into a little bit of like a water feature of some sort, and using some keys we can outline the sidewalks. We may even actually replace the sidewalks with the keys, the pathing. Let's see if we can lay that out and make that work. It might work. I think it'll work without anything crazy. I would be tempted also to put a pedestrian path across it, but I don't think that's super necessary. I think that might actually kind of muck up the process a little bit more than I would like. So let's see how we can lay this out here. Kind of want it in that direction. Let me make sure all my stuff is, there we go. That's what's holding us up. And let's see. Okay. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of our path here. Sorry for the change, but I think it'll be good in the end. We're going to get rid of this path. My intention would be to leave these paths, these crossing paths, though. Go ahead and drop you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot this up. And part of the reason I'm doing this is actually to hide the lip that's created there. So we're going to run that up as close as we can to the road. And we're going to try to blend it in pretty much with the curb. Just to keep this like as clean as possible, given that I don't have some of the stuff I would normally play with to clean it up. So look more like that. Now, the question I have is, how good are these angles going to look? So if I go across here, let's see. Oh, that's not bad. With some trees and some plants there, it might look okay. Maybe an additional path to connect it. That shouldn't be too bad. All right. I like this. Now, the only question will be is if we can get the terrain to, you know, work the way we want. which is, you know, as many of you know, if you play cities long enough, you are at the mercy of what sometimes cities wants to do. But I am thinking I can make this happen. And this would actually be kind of a cool little feature to have over here. Let's try to align this the best we can, the same way we did the other side. And we're going to tap it down just a little bit. So like right about there is pretty good. I think I adjusted the positioning. Oh no, we have nighttime again because I had to restart my save. All right. Now let's see. I think we're a little bit off now, which is not exactly ideal. So I'm going to take away something here. I'm going to try to see if it'll let me realign that. All right. There we go. I think we need to extend this end just a little bit. So let's just pull it down very carefully. Because I just yank it this way. Oh, going a little bit off there. Bring it back that way. There we go. Something like that, maybe. All right, now here comes the tricky part. We're going to try to get the terrain in a spot where it'll look ideal for this sort of, this little pond, I guess. This man-made pond, perhaps. Part of what I want to do is I actually want to lower it. So I'm going to lower our brush strength way down here. Something very, very minimal. I just want to get like, yeah, something like that. Just to get us going. And then I'm going to boost our strength back. Else this is going to take way too long. And then, yeah, we'll just start to expand the area. And I want to keep it all inside here. And we got to see how the edges are going to handle. Because I feel like that's going to be the one problem is we're going to have like a little bit of a slope on the edge. So I'm going to see if we can go a little bit further into the ground. Maybe to here, and just see how we can compress those edges. And we're starting to get the cliff texture you can see right there, which is not something I want to do too much of. All right. Well, there's, I mean, potential for this, right? Like, I don't know. I guess we got to see where the water's going to land and cover up this area before I can make a definitive decision as to whether I like it, which, you know, that's always the big question mark. Okay, so let's go ahead and go in here and we're going to adjust the water capacity to the least. Oops, don't need two of them. That would be catastrophic. And we're just going to fill this space. And, you know what? I'm actually going to center it. At least a little bit better. Maybe somewhere in here. All right, so we're going to relower it, and we're going to try to get it up to the edge there and see. Hopefully this will work. If not, we will pull back from a save I have and correct it. So let's see how the water fills in, but I feel like that's a good way to maybe tie in the canals a little bit with this. I'm thinking of like, you know, the mirror pond, I guess. Is that what it's called in Washington, D.C.? And just trying to make this area look very planned out, but just really like a centerpiece of the city. So good so far. We're doing all right. So far so good, I think is that saying. I just made up a new one. What's nice about this key is you also have lighting on it, so we'll have double lights, but I think that'll look really, really nice here. I just really want the water to get over the grass, and I don't know if I have anything to force the terrain downward. All right, I mean, it's kind of filling up, it's covering it up some, but you know what I'm realizing is I think it's more so because of the road, right? So maybe my idea was a bad one. Let's work through this together. We're going to take this key and I'm going to extend it out so it's not quite on the curb, and we're just going to blend it in as best we can. Yeah, now the edge here is looking a little bit less like there's just grass, like it's like an inch of water. So I'm going to do the same treatment on the other side. Now, what you could do is if you were playing more like a modded gameplay, what I would probably end up doing is doing something where I just ran some sort of like network terrain conform tool or something like that. I forget what they're called, but they're little networks that you can lay out and they will control the terrain height. I can use that. There's other mods too and assets that you can use to control the terrain height. That's probably what I would do to make this appear deeper, especially up to the wall. Like I want to see wall going into the water, not just the grass, you know, all the way up there. I don't know if I should put anything in the base though of the water. I'm not really sure. Like if we should switch it to dirt or something like that, because I don't know. I mean, would dirt look better maybe? I'm not entirely sure. Or would that just not look as nice for this area? Does the green add to like the water looking, you know, like it would in a park? Maybe. We can think about it. But that's kind of the setup here. Doesn't look too bad. We could do flowers or something around the edge, perhaps. Looks like we've got maybe this node. Let me check this node, make sure this is not like a little bit higher. Yeah, it looks like it was. Same with this one, I guess. Maybe it's just all of this side is like one. Yeah, that's okay. I don't want to tear. You know, like one thing that always I try to focus on, because it always is something that pops up or I see, is when you have those like tears and sidewalks and stuff when you're trying to put something down in cities. I try to make sure it's filled in and everything is like a straight line. It just, you know, again, it's me being wild, but all right, so we've got pathing there. Now we're down to this space, which I kind of want to do something different. So let's lay out some designs and see how wild we can get. I did this in a city recently, and I don't know that I can replicate it, to be honest, but I was able to do some angles at different, like, kind of spacing and stuff, and it actually looked really cool. But it's just, it may be too random or something, but, yeah, like, that doesn't work there, but let's see what we can get out of it to make it look, you know, a little different, and then you can fill some of the space in. Like, I don't mind this off-centered X. It's just figuring out, like, how to balance it at the top, you know? And I don't know if that's like taking from here. It's still like there's like this weird thing about when you're trying to do something like this, not to make it look too close to being a mistake. And it's a very weird balance to play. All right, so let's see where we can add another line or something here just to make it into like this kind of these neat geometric shapes. Let me see. I'm trying to find that spot where it's going to look the way I want, but and this may look too crazy down here. Let's try one more. Oh no. Oh no, we messed up. There we go. Easy fix. Let's go back to our path. Let's try a different design. This is legitimately sometimes just what I do is I sit here and try to make designs because I don't like necessarily see things this way. That's actually kind of neat. If we can balance it a little bit better, I would probably like this. I don't know if you guys spend a lot of time doing this, but like trying to come up with designs is difficult for me because I just sit here and I can play with it. But until I find something that's just, you know, really, really on point, it can be a little bit excruciating, I think. Let's check this out. This has got a lot of potential. This is very nice. It's very clean so far, at least. You can see in the background, the city's starting to build out a little bit more. So I feel like we are on a good path here. I've started pulling some plants and stuff like that that I think we can use to make this area look a little bit better. Let's go into trees. I need to find a flower. I want to try to use something besides the base game flower. So I think that might be our flower of choice for this area. Now let's decide on maybe like a nice tree or something like that, or a couple trees that go together that can detail this area out very nicely. I think that is a good selection. And then the hedges. I love these hedges because they can fit just about anywhere. I'm very much an avid fan of using these. I don't have any very low sitting flowers though that are like standing out to me, which is, you know, that's a thing, I guess. Something we might have to contend with. Trying to think of what we could do in a couple areas here just to do something different. I'm gonna put this out just in case, and let's see. Maybe that'll be enough to start us off anyway. All right, so let's go to 15, and we might have to make this kind of work a little bit better for us. I'm also seeing that this path is just a hair off, so let me fix that first. Let me find the node. Pull that down just a little bit, something like that I think would be more appropriate. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to get that closer to the edge. There we go. Again, I want to cover up any of these little awkward spaces like that, or as close as I can. I don't want to get like too hung up on perfecting every single thing, but we can always go in and add some flowers into some of these spaces just to break up the monotony of the green, which is probably the route here. I'm going to start here so I can try to get spacing nice. Then I'm going to go to here. Let's start actually right there. Can I get that in? I might have to shift that one tree back just a hair to keep it kind of away from the concrete. And we're going to align the trees here. I think we need one more tree there too, and just make kind of a point. All right, so let's see where we just need an individual tree. And I think, let's see what this looks like right there. I don't think everything needs to be super perfect and matched, but I do want it to be at least somewhat consistent. That's much better. Plenty of tweaks we could do. Like I want to shift these to be a little bit more centered. Now we have to decide what's going to go here, and I don't even remember what I had intended. I think I was going to make this more flower based, right? Shift that a little bit. All right, so let's grab this guy right here. This little pretty little flower bush that's going to stand out quite nicely. I'm actually going to probably do this by hand a little bit, and I'm going to create just a little spot here. So this center area is going to look very, very ornate in comparison to some of the other places, especially with the pink flowers standing out. I'm trying to overlap them to make it look nice and dense and just give them these, you know, like a kind of as if they're lower to the ground than they actually are. And then we'll put some trees up here too. Something like that. Now I think we come over here in this corner and let's just do like 2 or 3 right there. And I want to mirror that over on this side. All right, now let's clean it up a bit. I will say that one thing that often helps me is creating a palette. I've talked to people about this before, but I have all my plants and stuff over here. And you can see I just took this one out. So I'm going to actually replace it and put it back. But now I know exactly the palette of things I intend to use in this space. So if I ever need to go back, I can. If I want to pull the same tree or if I want to switch trees, easy peasy. I wonder if we do some older trees back here, maybe. And by older, I mean bigger. Let's try this one so it at least matches the same like color scheme. And let's put this sort of in these flower beds. Something like that. Now I'm thinking to continue to expand this area. We might just do a couple flowers here. Again, just making this whole space just a little bit different from the previous space, right? I like the fact that Zardis had marked this area off though. When I was like kind of zooming around the city, I was trying to decide what to do. And this area actually like really kind of stood out to me as something that I could play with within my own skill set. Because again, if you guys know, I do a lot of detail work. I don't do quite as much as I used to do, but that's like if you go and you look at the tutorials I make, they're all around detailing. So I think it's kind of fitting that I would spend a good chunk of today's episode just doing something a little bit different where you've got, you know, some fantastic builders, especially, you know, with Yumble coming up and Overcharged Egg having been involved, Zardis, Jedi, like these guys are great. So this is like a good opportunity for me to kind of do something, you know, in line with what I'm accustomed to. So there we go. There's kind of a nice area. I think that's starting to look pretty clean. We need to add a couple trees. I missed some trees. That's on me. My bad. Did I just place a tree? I think I did. Let me see. So it's about here. Again, I don't think any of this needs to be super perfect because we'll get away from just making it look the way it should. You can immediately see that that sort of stands off in its own way. Like, I'm almost tempted to do it here, but I don't want it to seem like just a duplicate, right? But that looks kind of nice. That's a good starting point for our vegetation and everything like that. You know, I'm zooming out and now I'm realizing I left a bunch of trees off. Did I delete those? What happened to me? Oh man, I'm losing it. Let me get these added in. My bad, guys. So much going on. My mind's all over the place. Let's correct that. There we go. All right, so now we're down to this area. And we've got to figure out how to make this area look a little different. So I'm actually going to grab this hedge that I pulled. We're going to start with this. And I don't want to overdo it because I tend to overdo it with these. So let's do like 10 meters. Although I kind of want people to feel like they're walking almost through like a little really well marked off area. I'm going to leave it to a little bit of spacing there. And then, you know, it's also not going to overwhelm the area. Let's just do a quick test of what this might look like if we came in here and we did a sort of similar setup that we used for the last section, right? Can we do something like that? I think this would be a nice place to walk. Not that any of us get outside. We'll have to stay inside. Okay. So not only like if you're somebody that's like kind of limited on assets, like if you feel like, man, I can never get enough assets on my computer, keep in mind, if you find a couple of good assets that you can use in repetition, changing up the way things are formatted, the way you lay things out sometimes is enough to draw a difference to make it look, you know, ornate in your own way, right? What do I mean by that? I mean, like if you can't have like, let's say all, you know, 5,000 assets that you want, but you have some really good assets, you can sometimes take those and you can tweak them and make them fit whatever, you know, your capacity is for stuff. So just changing up the design, you know, adding in these clusters of bushes instead of doing, you know, 10 meters or 15 meters everywhere can be a nice way to draw the eye and just do something a little bit different that isn't extremely costly. And keep in mind, a little bit of imperfection like doesn't ruin anything, in my opinion. Obviously, sometimes like when I'm streaming and stuff like that, I look at things and I'm thinking, well, maybe I should perfect this, you know, so someone doesn't notice. And at the same time, I realize if I perfect it, sometimes I'm losing that organic nature of things. Like things aren't just, you know, sitting like they were built completely, you know, it doesn't have to be completely intentional or unintentional, but I don't want it to look like everything was planned perfectly, especially when it's supposed to be an organic part of town. I think I need to do a couple more clusters here, and this area might look kind of nice. Yeah, we need to add a cluster right here, I think. Perfect. So we've used a couple different types of trees. I did want to stay somewhat consistent, and I guess that's worked out fairly well thus far. There we go. So we have some nice differences. It doesn't look too repetitive. Let me look what's going to go here, and maybe this will help us answer the question. I might do planers. I might stick with this. This actually looks kind of nice. It pops. It stands out. Let me see what planers we have. Okay, apparently it's under that. That's how we find them. So we've got some narrow. Okay. Now, I want to try something. So we have 10 meters. So let's do like 8 meters. Okay, let's do about 7. I don't think it's going to work the way I want. Oh, it is. Kind of. We do like 6.5 meters. No. It doesn't quite do what I want it to do. 8. Yeah, so we're going to do about 7.75. I know that's oddly specific, but I'm basically conjoining the joints between the planters. So do something like that. All different color flowers. Ooh, that really stands out. And we're going to duplicate that, throw it on this side. And let's grab, actually might want to do this tree right here. And then let's, yeah, let's do, oh, I dropped one again. About 10 meters through the middle. Just shift that back a little bit. Ooh, that looks kind of fun. Now, for simplicity's sake, we're going to take that. And let me add in props. Forgot about those guys. Here we are. This appears to be a little bit more spread out, so I'm going to have to tweak that a little bit just so I don't have that kind of awkward gap. Yeah. Let's grab these nodes. And just pull them down a bit. And we'll tweak the placement here. Make sure it looks like it was created for either side. Also, probably I'm going to get some zoning down here in a second so we can start to see what the surrounding area is going to look like. I don't want to do too much in there yet to see if we can add like a tourist attraction or something around here just to, you know, kind of drive some traffic, up the land value, all those good things. I am very tempted to try to break up this space somehow. I just don't know how this is going to look. Ooh, I actually like that. Huh. Well, that worked out fairly well. It's maybe, you know, maybe it works. It does. I think something like that does a lot to break up the monotony of all the, you know, grid around it, both in roads and my own pathing. Sometimes it's just very simple ideas will just, you know, save the day and make things look so much better. Or so much more unique, at least. Okay. I feel like we're going to need a little bit more of that. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this hedge again, and we're going to try to get these aligned a little bit just to have a little bit more visually added in here. Because it still looks a little bit bare bones as opposed to everything else. I've already set sort of a precedent for what to expect, so I want to keep that going. Look at how nice. I mean, you just have some density there. This now pops and stands out. It's very, very refined and clean. I like it. So I'm going to take this bush and I'm going to see if I can do it here where we just fill this in a little bit. These are a little bit bigger, so I'm kind of hoping we can set this area apart in its own way. And then put a tree in the middle, maybe. That might be a little... I need something tall that's really going to stand up over those big old hedges there. I'm going to place these a little bit more relaxed just to make it not look too planned in that space. Look at how this is coming along. This really is set up nicely. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty pleased. I know it's maybe not perfect. Maybe it's not what everybody would do, but it's nice. I think there's some little details we can add in just a moment. I want to get again, some more of the floral stuff down, and then we'll work on a couple little things I want to add. And then I think we'll start zoning around it too and see what we can do to really blend this area in with what's coming up, you know, in the city elsewhere. So like, I feel like I don't really know what's going to happen here, and I just don't think I'm going to get there. So I know we've got offices and we've got it going into residential, so I think just kind of matching that energy that's like right in this block or so with some buildings here would be a really good fit. So it's, you know, you could go to work and you can walk out onto this park area, the mall, whatever you want to call it, and maybe visit some areas, or maybe there's a tourist attraction, stuff like that. I think that'd be really neat. And it's going to just be a really cool eye-catching space to the city. So now we have our little bit more of a modern path. I'm going to call it our modern path. And I'm going to do a similar setup to like that second area that we worked on towards the other end, where it was sort of centered with flowers to really attract your attention to the center point here. All right, let's go with something simple to begin with. Yeah, that might work. This looks maybe a little too dense. I can tweak that later if I need to. I feel like after I'm done recording, I'm going to go back through this before eventually I hand this off and make some small tweaks just to make it look a little bit more refined. We'll see. Okay. So it's similar, but it's also different at the same time, which is kind of interesting. Now, I wonder if we should do, how do we like kind of make this look a little bit more lively? It looks a little barren like in this space. And I'm just trying to find like sort of a center point so this looks nice and balanced to some degree with what else we have. Okay. I also have an idea for around the water, so let's try to accomplish that. I'm going to use these planters we've already been using. And let me see. If we do something like this, and let's say we do about 50 meters apart, maybe that might be too far. Let's do 30. Something like that, perhaps. And we align it about here. Kind of eyeing that. Duplicate on the other side. Yeah. That's kind of nice. I don't want to do the line, so that at least breaks up some of the concrete, right? All right, so what can we include around the park? We have this kind of nice centered area that I feel like could be something kind of cool. I wonder what landmarks and things that we have that might set us up for something different here. I'm very tempted to go with the clock tower just because I feel like from a center point, it's going to be cool behind there with the canals to have that in the space. I think the default position would always be at the end, right? And I think when I was looking at the space, I was tempted to put it here, but now I kind of feel like here might be a cool spot. So I think it's going to draw some attention like in this direction. I'm going to hit pause for a minute. Like, look where your eyes are going. Like, this could be really neat behind here, potentially. All right, we're going to throw in some offices here, and then a little bit right here. Let's see what this starts to transform into. Because I do want the surrounding areas, to be some decent sized buildings. I know we need power here, but I'm hoping that the zoning will take care of that in just a moment. Once I figure out what's going to be on this side. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and draw out just a little bit of a park in this space. Just so it's marked. I don't know what to name it. Avatar Mall. Let's go with something like that. Look at how this is starting to grow in. Basically, in a short little break here, I went in and I actually made sure all the zoning was set up through here, and I did some self-sufficient buildings here. So I'm hoping that we'll get some different style buildings in this area that'll draw some attention and look nice. So I think what I would like to do is potentially do a little bit more residential in this area as well, or up here maybe. Maybe this should be office. Let's try this, and I want to see what it's going to look like. Now, how can we make this thing really kind of look neat and belong to the park a little bit better? I'm going to do our little expansion of the sidewalks here. Let me actually flip that the other way. All right, now let's align that where it needs to be. I want this spot to blend in so it looks like it was formed sort of with the park. I think Zardis had an idea too for some government buildings. I might look at the courthouse and see about adding that. Maybe one other building that's kind of remarkable in its own way. And let's kind of balance everything out a little bit, make sure it looks all right. And then we're going to do this. We're going to outline it, I think. It's kind of what I'm going for right now. All right, now that we got our pathing down, let's work on getting a little bit of detailing in here. And I know today we've done a lot of detail work, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed like a slightly different perspective. That's not to say anybody, else attached to this doesn't do detail work. I feel like it's just sort of my bread and butter. That's what I'm known for. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to focus on something a little bit different, less of like a city expansion and more of just something a little bit more maybe ornate in the city that could stand out or make the city stand out a little bit. I think it's actually really cool that we're able to pass this around. This is the first time I've done anything like this. And I'm pretty honored to be included. And I know many of you probably don't know, my normal, I guess, my normal way of building. But between, my tutorials and what I do on Twitch and all that jazz, you probably a pretty good indicator that I'm going to spend a lot of time on some very fine details. All right, so let's see. We've got some office space in here. I was tempted to do IT clusters. I even laid some out as a test, and it was just getting a little bit wild with like the building size and stuff like that. And I don't think we have a college yet, and I want to say you're going to need some higher education to help support that. So I'm doing offices for now. I think if, I might make the recommendation too that if we get some, once we get a college in place and stuff like that, maybe we start to mark some buildings in here, just like specific plots to be IT clusters. So we get some tall buildings and make this almost like into like a central park kind of thing. But I want to move down here and we're going to start working on a little bit more zoning. I think specifically in this area is where what I was talking about earlier. So let's go ahead and get this spot set up. And I'm actually going to pause real quick, and we need to take away a little bit of zone here. Let me see, and then perfect. And then I want to make this. There we go. So we'll hopefully get some tall buildings that sort of match this style in here. And once this fills up, I think it'll look a little bit better. We also have this end. What I'm going to do is just, I'm going to make like a small park here to help blend some of this together. And obviously, if you have any questions about, the process or anything like that, please feel free to throw them into the comments below. I'll be glad to take a look. If you have any ideas for maybe what we should incorporate, you should definitely throw those in. And I think something like this might actually be nice here to blend some of our main park that we built into the city. You can see we're starting to move into like this area, so just stuff like that might be nice. Do we also have a blank spot here? We do. I'm going to do something different, and it's just kind of like styling all this green space to look the same but be different, As goofy as that sounds, this is like one of those things I do in some of my city builds. It's like I want things to stand out on their own, but I also want them to blend in with the rest of everything. It's an interesting balance to try and figure that out. I'm sure some of you have that same instance where it's like you get comfortable doing like a certain style or whatever, and you can do that all day. But then once you try to break away and do something different, it gets crazy. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. Okay. All right, I want to zoom out real quick and take a look at this. So you can see it's really filling up. That's starting to make this stand out even more, which is making me pretty happy. Now we have this one block. I don't know whether to do offices or maybe we fill it in with one other like office building of some sort. I don't think that's the vibe. Well, ooh, is it though? Like centered on the pond? That's actually kind of neat. Now, what if we can do something like this where we take some pathing here and we just sort of get it again. This is the same process I wanted to use at the clock tower. Just make it sort of blend in with the park. I'm also going to do a path around the back, and I know, yes, it needs power. Everything needs electricity. I will admit I've been playing with a mod that disables that. No power lines mod. It's been kind of nice. I feel like we just bring in some zoning and we just sort of make this all blend really nicely. Like some more office probably wouldn't hurt here. Just on the outside of that, flanking either side. So that kind of looks like the Capitol now. Or to me, it looks like a Capitol building. We've got the clock tower here. We've got the Capitol there. And again, I think once, you know, some of the property value rises, this will all start to really, really be kind of neat. Not that it's not neat yet, but it'll continue to improve. And the Capitol is kind of surrounded in the middle of town. Now I want to do one more little thing, and that's incorporating this little square here. God, it's not even a square. This little oval. I know my shapes, I think. I want to make this stand out because I do think this is a really cool feature. And this was like, I think in the first episode, I think Zardes set this up. So I want to tie in this. We'll have all these buildings down here. You're just going to have a really, really nice view through just the middle of town. I think will be really neat. I feel like, you know, I was bringing up earlier, this feels like downtown, uptown, but I really do feel like your downtown is really starting to form on this part or on this side of the city. Part of me almost wishes I would have had I would have put the government building here and the clock tower here, but I actually don't mind where it is. It's just an observation in retrospect. It's like, that would have fit here too, wouldn't it? All right, we're going to do a little bump and we're going to shift this way. And I'm going to take... All right, let me see if I can do this. All right, we're going to do a little BOB on this. And I just want to go to trees. Yeah. Let me see what we can trade this out with just to make it look consistent with some of the other things we've done. Yes, something like that maybe. And then maybe we go to these on the outside. And then again, to continue driving this home, that it's all sort of tied together and it's meant to be the same space, I'm going to add some flowers. Some of the flowers we've been using quite significantly. I just think these are the best looking flowers currently in the save, so might as well use them. And I think in an effort to help take away from some of the, you know, the pavement that's around in, you know, with like what comes with a city, you know, and then all the pathing and the roads that we've done with and around the park itself. I think this is a good way to like break up some of the monotony. And we're going to do that right there. All right, now in one of our last little stage, I'm going to throw a few of these guys in to really make this look nice. Let's do 2.5. So these are going to be pretty close together, but this is not really an area that I think people are just going to cut across and walk into. So, and it should make this area kind of stand out pretty nicely. Let's get the curve in. I'm going to duplicate it for time's sake. You can obviously go in and adjust it a little bit better with prop line tool. I'm being a little bit speedy right now, because I do know there's been a lot of planting of bushes and trees. All right. And now I want to go and do just some lines to outline a little bit. And cover up any kind of odd mistakes and that sort of thing. All right, so that's on the end. Okay, we're starting to get somewhere. I need to add water. We're starting to get somewhere. We've actually got there. I don't think that's the tree I want to use for this. I'm going to do like something a little bit inverted over here, where it's going to be trees in the middle, no bushes, and just see kind of what that's going to look like. I think that looks nice. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But look at that view. That's looking pretty cool. I'm really pretty happy that we opted to do this space like this. Oh, I have a couple little odds and ends to clean up here. And then I think it'll be time to wrap up this episode of 5 Builders, 1 City. And if you're not familiar with the process here, next week I'm going to be doing a video that's going to be more focused on a little area that's dedicated just to my own little town. I was talking about it a little bit earlier and trying to decide what to do. If you have some suggestions, of course, throw it into the comments. I would appreciate it. Because I haven't quite decided yet. I don't know what that's going to be. Hopefully, you know, I have a couple days to decide, so I'll have to hurry. But I think, I was thinking about doing something like a little vacation spot, you know? Something by the water that's small, maybe a little spread out. Maybe it's like more so known to people that are around this area that live here and just go there to vacation. I think that little divide there looks a little better. Makes this look a little bit more interesting. All right, guys. Well, I think that about wraps it up for me right now. I'm gonna make some tweaks, but overall, I think that's a pretty good little build. I think we transformed this part of town, to be honest with you. It looks very interesting. It's pretty simple. Again, like, just remember, you can use basic stuff to create a lot of density and make areas look unique. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I think the area came out nice. It's kind of a centerpiece for this part of town, and I think once some of the areas around it get built out, this is gonna look really, really cool. I'm super stoked to be a part of this, and I hope you guys will go check out the other builders that are going to be attached to this project. I think this is going to be really something neat, especially for folks that are interested in seeing just different styles and how it can blend together too. It's just kind of it's a neat take on City Skylines, in my opinion. And don't forget, next week we're going to be working on a little town that's all to our own. I'll show that off next week and we'll talk about it and figure out what we're building. And hopefully I'll get a little bit more construction done. I know today was a little bit more detail heavy and very, very hyper focused on a park, a large park at that. But I think it's a cool thing to add to the city and what's all set up here. So be sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys soon.